Chris Gunn, how does someone get $1 million more in roofing sales? What's the secret?
Goodness, how can you get roofers 1 million in sales? What is the secret? What's the magic bullet? Well, you can try to blow it out of the water with a novel idea, but that's that would basically put into jeopardy all you've built upon as a roofing company, if you're a roofing company. And if it worked, it probably would work until it doesn't. So that's really not the right mentality. Joe, have you seen PNC Bank's new slogan?
I'm not. No.
It's boring.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's brilliantly boring since
Yeah.
1865.
I'm trying to think who my PNC Bank contact is and if they're gonna be upset that I
You might wanna cut that part out, right?
Yeah, I might edit this out.
Yeah, but, I mean, there's a lot of wisdom to that, and at first, I didn't really like that slogan, but, it kinda grew on me, and many times, we know the right things to do, we just have to do them, and we have to do them consistently, and so I've got a list of ways that I feel will help roofers add 1 million to their revenue, but a lot of it, they should know, and that's not to say we won't have a few aha moments here and there, but the biggest challenge is often implementation and consistency. So
Yeah.
here we go.
All right.
So the first way is increasing your lead to appointment conversion. So the biggest issues are typically missed calls, no text follow up, slow callback speed, weak intake processes, the owner being answering the phone while on the roof. And surprisingly, I've seen not often, but some roofing companies they have no CRM automation. So how do we solve this? Well, for the missed calls, having like a dedicated call handling system. So this could be your internal team or a call center. Those are great solutions. No text follow up. Well, we can have AI chat text follow up. That's pretty easy to integrate now. And most, if not all, CRMs have that integration at this point. You can set up instant scheduling. I've built this for a couple clients and it's absolutely amazing. It integrates with all the sales reps' calendars, so there's no double booking. So that is well worth it. You can incorporate speed to lead systems. You can use call scripts. You can improve your website conversion by adding your process and easy intake forms. All these things will help with increasing your lead to appointment conversion. Another thing you can do is improve your close rate by 5 to 10% if you can. Easier said than done, of course, but what does include and improve close rates? Well, better inspection process, stronger sales presentations, typically instant estimate delivery. As you know, we live in a world where instant gratification is so important,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially if you're a homeowner and you're sitting in your house and you see just water gushing down in your living room. I mean, you have a pain point, so you want answers quickly. And then visual documentation as well. Many people are visual learners, so having visual documentation will actually set you apart a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like it when I see an estimate come out and that, you know, are on the roof, and then I'm looking at, like, photos, right, of, like, this is where you're missing a shingle, this is how you can tell it's old, right? That to me, you will get a better price per square. Like, you will win in the, like, high price per square markets if you can do that, versus in that same market, someone may show up, quote, "a much lower price per square." They're gonna lose even though they're the lower price bidder because, like, dude, I don't know. It sounds like you just kinda showed up, gave me a number. You're not showing me anything, so that's huge.
Yeah. And the stage kinda got set even before your roof. If you think about it, if you're a first-time home buyer or, this is your first home or even, second or third or whatever, you've kinda get introduced to this visual documentation through your home inspector, right? I remember getting my first home and I had this big packet. Of course, it was a PDF, but this big packet just full of here's all the like just what you're saying, all these pictures and everything. So, and that cost was like 100, 200, $300 for that inspection. Well, now we're talking about an $18,000 investment. And if you don't have a visual documentation, I mean, there's
Yeah.
a bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I just spoke to someone who's getting their roof quoted right now. And they're like, "Man, this costs so much," right? Like, it costs almost like the amount of a new car, and,
Yeah.
like, you need to, on the sell side, treat it like, "Hey, you need to give someone the service," and, like, instant gratification, that high touch feeling like you would if you went to a car lot's maybe not the best example, but like still, someone is holding your hand, someone's showing you the vehicle, someone's letting you test drive it, right? Like they're paying more. They could get a car instead of a roof, right? So you got to win that money.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And you've got to show that value.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And another thing is trust signals. That kind of just segues nicely into that. So you need to make sure you have your reviews. Video testimonials are huge. Again, it goes back to that visual. And then homeowner education, I think, is important. Setting up that roofer as the authority in their industry by educating them, showing people, hey, you're about to spend $18,000. You're gonna want to know this roofing company knows what they're talking about. So those will all help with your close rates. And then another thing I would suggest is dominate Google reviews. Reviews nowadays, particularly Google reviews, influences so many things. Local SEO, your Google Maps rankings, your close rates, your ad performance, particularly for local service ads or LSA, and also referral confidence. And so that kind of Google reviews is it's basically the tide that raises all your ships, if you will. It's such a huge bang for your buck, and it will go such a long way for taking you to that extra million. Another way is improving financing. Well, not improving, but rather another way is your financing. Offering financing, particularly if it's better financing, that increases things like your upgrades. It increases your chances to close the deal. So, Joe, if I were to come to you and say, "All right, so your roof is going to cost $18,000, but lucky for you, we only require half up front. So you are due $9,000 for us to get started." But if you offer another option of, hey, we also offer financing, and I'll make these numbers up, for $200 a month, now you can have all the benefits of a new roof, right? For paying it off incrementally. That increases your close rate. Not only that, but also now you can offer premium shingles. You can say, hey, for just $10, $15 extra a month, we can protect that investment even more and greatly extend by years the lifespan of that roof of your investment, right? Just for $10 or $15 extra. While we're up there, let's go ahead and fix your gutters. Or if you do more than just roofing, you've got gutters, you do maybe the entire envelope of the house, you can offer siding. I mean, this alone can add millions without increasing leads. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's the blocking and tackling. And like I just spoke to a roofer earlier today, and they were telling me I got a business in a box. It's ready to go. And I was like, okay, let's talk a little bit more about it. And they were like, okay, well, not right now. Like I'm on the roof right now. Right. So like, there's a lot of opportunity in just freeing up your own time to focus on the sales piece. It's not, it's like however they probably got that sale, it's just doing the blocking and tackling around that process that can add another million more.
Yeah.
Hey, some of the other things that we're going to cover today, I'm glad I've got you, Chris. We're going to cover top mistakes people make. We're going to cover JobNimbus versus ServiceTitan when it comes to marketing and sales, and the best data points that you can leverage for your sales plan. I'm asking all of these things and I'm talking to you because, Chris, why don't you tell everybody who you are and why you're the guy that I wanted to talk to about, these questions.
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Christopher Gunn. I own a design and marketing agency. We focus on trade services, particularly roofers, around the $2 to $30 million revenue range. And we started locally, but then we kind of branched out and focused more on storm-ridden areas and kind of coastlines. But then we got a pretty major client in Ohio, and we had the opportunity to really just kind of they're not really in any kind of storm areas, so they didn't really fit our target market, but we were able to get them amazing results. And that was a great opportunity to kind of test our marketing systems and see, okay, yeah, this really works outside of storm-ridden areas as well. And so now we've opened it up to the contiguous United States. And yeah, so we're a full service agency. We do everything from a strong digital foundation, which includes like a custom authentic website, setting up your email campaigns. If you need a CRM, setting that up, all those foundational things, your branding, all that stuff to make sure that you're set up for success for the next phase, which is what I call reach. And reach is basically digital marketing. It's SEO, it's Google Ads. It's basically growing your revenue with you. And then the final bucket is reputation authority, which is basically video testimonials. It can be employee testimonials. And that just adds another layer onto your trust signals. But it kind of completes the circle in a sense, because it can also attract employees and attract the right types of employees that will really help you grow your business. So
Yeah,
that's
no,
a nutshell.
the people is fundamental still at the end of the day, right? You gotta get meet customers. You gotta work this process. You gotta like enter in the leads correctly so they can be tracked. So the next thing that I want to ask Chris are about kind of about the mistakes that roofing owners make in sales and digital marketing. And so the other way to think about it, right, is like I'm a roofing owner. Chris, I feel like I have a website. I can do all these things on my own. I don't really need you. And so let's say that is kind of the direction they're going. What are the top mistakes that you see owners making in sales and digital marketing?
Yeah. So a lot of roofers think they can kind of do things by themselves. And, any good business, like you had just said earlier, is built on good people. When you unlock the understanding that there's great power in delegation, because it frees you up to do things that you are better suited to do as a business owner. I mean, now the sky becomes the limit, right? You're not the roofer that's on the roof answering the phone. You're the roofer that's doing operations or that's working on the business, and it's more orchestrating the business rather than being the guy that's taxing his body, taxing himself mentally. So once you as a roofer see that, okay, I need to start outsourcing this, I need to hire for this, that just unlocks your world completely. There's usually some cap somewhere. It's usually about 1 to 3 million, where a business owner realizes he can't go much higher without starting to hire can't go higher in order to without hiring people to help him. That usually looks like an operations manager or looks like a sales rep. So that's kind of one thing, is just that mentality of having the right mentality as a business owner as opposed to just a roofer.
Yeah.
Another mistake I would say is slow follow up. That's one of the biggest things. We've already touched on this, but slow follow up, it just kills the deals. People want that instant gratification, and they have the luxury of saying, if you're not going to answer your phone, I'll just go to the next person, because I've got a real pain point that needs to be solved. So that's huge. No sales process is another thing. Roofers should quickly start to standardize their inspections. Their sales reps need to understand how to handle objections. There needs to be sales training for that. You need to have a follow-up cadence. That's crucial. And another thing is selling price instead of trust. So homeowners, they buy certainty, they buy confidence, they buy professionalism. So you should sell your confidence. Don't sell your price, sell your confidence. Sell your process. That gives assurance to homeowners. Sell your reputation. You know, those things go a long way. And then along with that, poor follow-up after inspections. Roofers tend to just send the estimate. Yes, that's good. But then you need to get them on a follow-up sequence with email and SMS. SMS is huge in homeowner industry. Any kind of service-based texting campaigns are actually better suited than email campaigns. So, and send them educational content while you're at it. So,
Yeah. I definitely see, as a business broker, at that stage where, all right, someone wants to buy, they're looking into your business and how it works and how much the owner does. And there's like, this is often kind of a mistaken mentality that aligns with what you're saying is, oh, I have a great business and it's great because I'm involved in it and I'm doing so much, which is great from like a customer perspective. When you're doing that like 1 to 5 million in sales and the owner shows up, like that's really, really great, right? But when someone's trying to buy it, that's terrible. It's like, if I'm relying on you to do sales, that's bad. If I'm relying on you to do calls, that's bad. Like there needs to be someone else running sales. There needs to be some system in place that I can see. And that is definitely like, how does sales work? Who are your sales reps? What is the sales system? And the other part that I get is, who handles your digital? Like if you're doing any advertising systems, like integration on the website, they want to know who's doing that, because if I'm a buyer, I don't want to do that. I don't want to like get the logins to the website and figure out why an SMS isn't going out. So yeah, that is definitely a key delegation aspect, and the less the owner is doing from a sales perspective, from a exit perspective, the better. And I often see like sales needs to be like in marketing and digital needs to be like the first out the door for these guys. So
Yeah, that makes sense. You're setting up a turnkey business. I mean, that's so attractive for your buyers.
yeah,
Nobody wants to buy a job for themselves.
yeah, exactly. And so it's okay. So you'll help get them set up with all those things. The next thing, besides the website and all those systems, is that it's gotta be piped into something. Kinda 2 big dogs in the space, right? So, what is better? This is a loaded question. Anyway, JobNimbus or ServiceTitan? Those are the kind of big dogs in the space. Do you see one being better than others? So if I'm at 1,000,000, I'm trying to go to 5 and I haven't instituted either one, should I pick one? If I'm in one or the other, is the other so much better that I should switch or vice versa?
Yeah, that's a very difficult question to answer, but I'll do the best I can. I'll give you more like and just a quick qualifying point here. I'm a marketer.
Yeah.
So I'm coming at this from marketing,
Yes.
but from what I've observed, I've had the opportunity to pull back the veil from many roofing companies as well as other companies like HVAC and Garage Door and other companies, and really kind of see, okay, what is important to them, as opposed to what's important to me, because ultimately my goal is for their success. I am successful. My business is successful when they're successful. So I'll just kind of give you a bit of a compare and contrast and give you my opinions. So between JobNimbus and ServiceTitan, for roofing sales specifically, I would say JobNimbus is usually the better fit for most roofing companies. For overall sales management sophistication, I would say ServiceTitan is more powerful. So there's an important distinction here. How mature are the operations of the roofing company? And then are you roofing only or are you multi-trade? So JobNimbus is better for roofers between like usually about 1 to 10 million, I would say. That's not to say you can't be higher. I have one roofing company that's about $15 million residential side. They love JobNimbus and they use it and they're very successful and they're doing a great job. Roofing it's project based. It's relationship heavy. It's, as you know, it's insurance driven typically. And so JobNimbus was really built around those realities. And JobNimbus is typically easier to adopt. And JobNimbus handles insurance restoration workflows a lot better. So they handle the supplements, the claim stages, adjuster coordination, document management, production handoffs, all these things JobNimbus does really well. And historically, ServiceTitan was not really built for this. It's more strict in their workflows, which is also has its benefits and its drawbacks. So what about ServiceTitan? So ServiceTitan is better for enterprise level and multi-trade. So it's really designed for service request type businesses like HVAC, electrical, those types of businesses. And it's a lot more robust in reporting and integrations. So JobNimbus, it kind of struggles in reporting, but it's more lenient in its workflows. So that makes it more flexible. Whereas ServiceTitan, it integrates with more things and it kind of goes beyond CRM task management. It becomes everything for you. So, but that also means onboarding is more challenging and it costs a lot more. So I know an HVAC company, they had about 25 users and they were paying like 125,000 a year for ServiceTitan. So yeah, which is a lot of money. So ServiceTitan, so in your world, ServiceTitan is typically used by PE-backed companies because of its robust reporting, its very strict workflows. It's phenomenal, and it's just so ubiquitous in the business. So as a marketer, I love ServiceTitan because it integrates with everything. JobNimbus does not. But at the end of the day, you as a roofer, you have to decide what makes sense for your business. So for most roofers, I think ServiceTitan is overkill, especially in the beginning. JobNimbus is flexible, but that can also cause operational complacency. So we touched on this a little bit. You need to make sure your system's in place. If you've got too flexible of a system, especially if you're not the one managing it, if you've kind of delegated it out to managers who are delegating it out to sub managers, et cetera, that can muddy the waters quickly. So that's not a discouragement, but it's just something to be aware of.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
From what I see, the biggest thing is you gotta use it, like, so you gotta be able to show me what the pipeline looks like, what is in progress? What have you received deposit for? Who are the leads you're following up on? Who are they assigned to? You got to use it. You got to like systematize it. That to me is more important part because I don't integrate into anyone's system. So I'm like kind of indifferent in that way. Right. And then you're right. Like I think at the PE level, that regional level, ServiceTitan starts to become preferred. But again, I think it's whatever you as the owner are going to more likely use is better. A PE firm is not going to not buy you or look at you because they're like, oh well, you picked JobNimbus. Like they'll just make the transition, right? But I think that's the biggest thing is kind of like what are you, do you, if I ask you what's going on as a broker, as an outsider, as a buyer, can you show me? If you can't show me, then you're not using it well. And so that may be like a pro for ServiceTitan if it's just like, all right, this is how it works. Like we don't have to like know how you use it, but again, it's a trade off. I think most owners prefer JobNimbus, especially in that 1 to 5 million, 1 to 10 million range.
100.
But so Chris, you're tapped into so I think at the beginning we asked like how do you get a million more sales? It's all the blocking and tackling. I see that especially for that 1 to 5 pushing maybe to 10 million in sales. But I maybe push back on the ranges here, but think that once you get to 10 million in sales, there's only so much blocking and tackling probably at that point left to do. And now you're really working. You're either going to do a new market or you're really going to be looking into the margins to improve those, which can make a big difference. What are some of the data points that you like to leverage as a marketer to say, hey, this is where you can make improvements? Like you had mentioned, the close rate. Like, getting from 5 to 6 to 7% on that close by adjusting things is a big deal. Like, I'm sure that if you're integrated into their CRM and you're handling their digital sales and leads and Google profile, what are you showing the owners of like, here's what I'm paying attention to at your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're kind of jumping into revenue side, right? So that first part was, hey, you need to make sure you've got your foundation in place and make sure you're doing the right things. Because if you start to introduce new leads too quickly to a broken system or to an inefficient system, you're basically just wasting money. I mean, yes, you'll increase your revenue, you'll increase your gross revenue. It's going to be a lot less efficient and it's going to be very frustrating and you'll have a lot more gray hairs at the end of the day. So once we're past that part and we're kind of into that phase of, all right, now let's grow our revenue. So now we're in reach. So I'll meet once per week initially with clients that are doing digital marketing with me. And we'll go through a lot of the following things. We'll talk about missed calls. So I don't necessarily track this for them, but they should be tracking it. But I do follow up and I ask if they've responded to each missed call that shows up in my system. So we talk about speed to lead. We ask them, what's their response rate was for that week. This is a highly competitive industry. The first responder advantage is real. The first person to respond typically most of the time gets the job. So you need to be calling and texting within minutes. If you've waited 5 minutes and you haven't responded to a missed call, I mean, you're toast. It's very unlikely that you're going to get that sale because again, these people have some real pain points. They got water gushing down in their living room. They're going to call the next person in line. The next thing is sales conversion. So how many total calls and form submissions are you getting versus your closed amount? We also talk through Google reviews velocity because that is such a great package deal. It's an easy win, right? So how many reviews are you getting each month or each week or however big the company is? Were they 5-star ratings? Are they recent reviews? Do you need help responding and handling a bad review? Because nobody likes a bad review, but oftentimes that's an opportunity to show your clients and show your prospects how you handle conflict. Typically people will see, okay, are you 4.5, 5 stars? Yes. Okay. Then they scroll all the way down to the bottom and they look and see, how did you handle those bad reviews? Because they say, if I have a problem, God forbid I do, but if I do have a problem, I want to see how they're going to treat me. Right.
Yeah.
So that's an opportunity for you. It
Yeah.
also shows that you're not review stuffing, right? You're a real person. You're a real company. The other thing we do is marketing attribution data. This is huge for us. So I use something called CallRail. And basically what that's doing is that records all the calls that we have running through our system. And then we just talk through where the leads came from. We look at all the organic, the Google ads, local service ads, Google business profile, and what is effective? What is working? Do we need to pivot? A lot of my roofers, they have given me permission to say, okay, I'm seeing what's working. So I'm going to go ahead and make this pivot and I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. And that's important, but I need the numbers to be able to do that. So we have these systems in place to where we can track, because not all of them have those systems. So that's another boon for them is I'm offering a system to basically hand to them. Hopefully it's in addition to what they're already tracking, but if they're not, here you go. Here's all of our sales activity, because I, as an advertiser, I have to prove my work, right? I have to prove, hey, this lead came from me. So otherwise they're like, all right, see you later. And then another thing is, if they're doing SEO with me, I send them a monthly report and go over it with them, typically in a meeting. And we talk about rankings and we talk about what pages are performing the best, traffic patterns, where to improve, those types of things. So that's typically what you see out of my agency.
Yeah. And so with CallRail, that helps you track whether something came from like they saw you on Facebook or they just cold called you or like were from Google. You can tell all those different things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it can even track, like, if they have, let's say they have yard signs,
Yeah.
or they have, like
Wow.
something. And the way we do that is we use tracking numbers. So we'll assign like 10, 12, 15 different numbers depending on how many different advertising streams they're using. And then that all funnels into CallRail. And so all the calls are recorded. And I'll actually go through some of these calls with them if I have questions. I'm like, hey, I'm not sure if this is a good lead for you. Did this count? Let's talk about this
Yeah.
and figure that out. So,
That's
but yeah.
good. I'm sure it also helps you determine like what is the go forward strategy, like what's working. Like, all right, we have all these yard signs. If you're getting a bunch of calls from 'em, like you might want to be like, hey, every job today needs to have this out. Like these are crushing it. So that and because those things ebb and flow too, right? Google will make a policy update, and then all of a sudden you're not getting as many calls through that, and maybe you need to work on something, maybe put some more dollars or effort into the social media side of it, right? Like if because you're tracking it. Great. Well, Chris, it's been great having you here to kind of walk people through digital strategy, how to improve sales. Are they making what commitment are they making to JobNimbus versus ServiceTitan in that respect? Before we go, any parting thoughts that you have for roofing owners, and what's the best way to reach you? What's the call number that says that they listened to this and then called you? I'm kidding, but how do they get in touch with you?
They can always find me on my website. It's just Christopher Gunn, G as in golf, UNN.net, or you can just find me on LinkedIn or Facebook. I've been posting pretty much daily on there. I've got a campaign running for 6 months.
Yeah.
So you'll see that. But yeah, reaching out to me through those methods are fine. That's probably the best way to reach me. As far as closing, I would say to the roofers, I think the best roofers that scale, they focus on systems and numbers. They put the right people in place and they know how to motivate them, but they're also smart in that they build strategically and improving their KPIs so like they can scale predictably. So in an industry that doesn't have monthly recurring revenue and storms can kind of make or break a quarter, that's huge. So just kind of keeping that in mind is important.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely see that. When you see a big spike and there was like from storm revenue one year, that kind of gets metered out in terms of value, on the exit side. But if you can reliably capture that, that still gets averaged in. And if you can really say, and this is the key, is because like you're going to reach those people through being present and putting in dollars and effort when a storm hits, so that when someone opens their phone and is looking, you show up. And if they have a system for that, then all of a sudden, one storm driven spike in revenue where it's just like, I just want to kind of like pretend that didn't happen because it was luck. Now it's not luck. Right now, like that is repeatable revenue in the sense of when it happens, I know it happens. I know the levers that I pull to get that revenue. And because I have that and other people don't, I will win when there's a storm.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
But I've never met a roofing owner who can fully do that on their own. So like you need to have someone helping you on that front.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Well, Chris, thanks for coming on, and we'll put all your contact info, and hopefully you'll be getting people several millions in sales pretty soon,
I
something like that.
appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Absolutely.